A good night's sleep.
Okay. Okay, so here we are with another episode of 010 Podcast with Andy today. We just get to have an intimate conversation. And we decided that community was a good topic for today in that we both moved from different communities now, and we're just seeing some different things happening in our life and how these small communities make things work. And maybe how we can use this characteristic, I guess, of a small community in our everyday lives and showing up for others. So
Yeah, and the biggest question being in my mind is like, I lived in Bismarck the majority of my life, and I like we just kind of talked about, I'm sure that there are pockets of communities in Bismarck, right? Whether it be neighborhoods or, families or whatever. But as a whole, I think what I've witnessed in Hazen in the short amount of time that I've been fortunate enough to live here is um, very different than what I've experienced in Bismarck. And so our question is it the small town that, is that why the sense of community is different? Or is it, just the world we live in happens to work a little differently in larger communities? I don't know what it is, but you grew up in Buffalo.
yeah,
Is it the same? Does it feel the same there today as it did growing up? Um, I think
good
that's where
question.
small communities really, the heart comes from. It does feel still like maybe here these kids still ride their bikes around town by themselves.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah,
people don't lock their doors. A lot of people don't lock their car doors. A lot of people just you walk right in. So people just walk right into my house. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. In Bismarck, I would have hated it. It's so how have small communities kept that going? I
right,
wonder.
right. Yeah, I don't know. I would say definitely, I feel like Buffalo's the same. Like it's still what it is. So, but whether it's a family accident or, I mean, when there's something that happens, like everyone knows about it and they're affected in a way that's
Hmm.
different than something happening, you know, if a close friend had something happen in Bismarck, it would have been, I would have been involved, right?
Right.
But these aren't always close friends, or it's just like the family. We know the family is hurting, so things change. We don't hesitate to lend a hand or whatever. It's just it's accepted too. And I think that's part of it is we talked about that, right? Like, so if somebody were to just walk into my house in Bismarck or come over and say hi and whatnot, without a heads up, it
Right.
felt different. It was like, oh,
Right.
um, I'm not ready for you, or
Right.
like I got
Right.
going on or whatever. But here it's like someone will just drive into, we live on a ranch 40 miles from town. Somebody will just drive into the yard and say, oh, we were just in the neighborhood, so thought we'd stop in, see
Hmm.
if you're home. And if they weren't, they'd just go about their day, Or if
Yeah.
we are, then it's come in, have coffee, like
Right.
let's catch up.
Right.
So it's just it's very different, um, very different that way. And I don't know. I would like to think that the small town in me growing up this way would have taken that to a larger community, that
Right.
same mentality, but
Right.
it didn't come with me.
Right.
Yeah,
It isn't it is it because oh, I like right, why is that? Is it because that's just not how people act there? Or is it because um you you just didn't, have that to bring with you or or
yeah.
I don't know.
And
It's
it's not
really
that
interesting.
we aren't busy in a small community. People have
Right.
things going on all the time.
Mhm.
Um, but it seems like we enjoy or make time without letting others know we're making time, but we like do things with each other. I was on my way home from Napa yesterday, and um so it's a 3 hour drive from Rapid City back home. And on my way home, I was driving by my sister's, turn off the highway to go into her house. And I'm like, I need to stop here. So I just
Hmm.
did. I didn't call or anything. And sure enough, I pull in and they were having a get together with their friends. And I was like, I pulled in and there's kids everywhere riding their little cars around. And, I was like, oh, geez, there's something going on, but I like was surprised and walked in and then everyone was saying hi and we all gave hugs and it was just not that it happens all of the time, but it's already happened more in my life since I've been home than when I was in Bismarck. And when I was in town in Bismarck, it was, you had to schedule out so far to be like, hey, we're gonna get together on, June 16th, like
Right,
I'm gonna
right,
have dinner at my house or whatever. You
right,
had to plan so much more. And I don't know
right,
if
right. Can you
that's,
imagine if I just showed up at your house in Mandan? I mean, I'm not
and I
saying
would
that
have
I
loved
couldn't
it
have.
actually, but I
I know,
missed
but
that. I didn't realize how much I missed that.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I think you're right. And I missed it. And not only that, but again, it feels so wholesome. It
Yeah.
feels, it, you know, I was sitting out on my back deck the other day and gentleman literally just starts walking up, like there's an alleyway in our backyard, and he just starts walking up the driveway of our, home in the back alleyway. And like in Bismarck, I would have immediately been on alert and been like, who's coming up to my home and why? But I wasn't even, I was like, and I was laying in the sun essentially, I just had some shorts and a tank top on, and I just he's like, hey, and I was, hi, how you doing? I just walked over to him and he introduced himself, and he's like, hey, I just wanted to tell you, if you need help keeping this area cleared, I'll keep this clear for you this winter. I'll clear your snow for you, and no big deal. I do it for this other, I do it over here and whatever. And I was like, he doesn't know me. You know what I mean? He doesn't know me. He just is like, well, hey, I'm here
Yeah.
anyway. Let me clear your driveway for you. He didn't ask for anything. He didn't want anything. He said, if
Yeah.
you ever need anything, this is my name. This is my wife's name. I mean, and you just think to yourself, oh my gosh, that's so nice. But in a small community, people just look out for each other that way.
Yeah. Yep.
They just do.
They do. Yeah. And I had that in Lakewood when I was living there. Like I didn't know my neighbors well, other than one neighbor, but he
Mhm.
was, I mean, yeah, he helped with a lot of things. And I don't know if it was because I was a female, that's like, um, if you're watching a girl with a shovel and shoveling feet of snow, like
Right.
it's kind of a man thing to do to like come over and say, "Hey, can I can I help you? I have a snowblower in the garage. Like I'll come and help you out."
Yes.
You know what I mean? Uh,
Yes, but I lived in a community for about 4 years. And I shoveled not only my driveway, but also like sidewalk as far as I could go on either side. And everybody around me had snow blowers, everybody. Never once did anybody come snow blow my driveway for me. And that's fine. It's not that I expected it or even thought you should do it. But
no,
if it were me, I would have done it. So I sometimes wonder, like, is it community? Is it small town, or is it just the heart of people?
right.
Is it just, and your neighbor, where did he grow up?
He grew up in a small community.
Exactly. Yes. I thought that about him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I'm blanking. It's like center or somewhere that direction.
Yeah. And I just think in smaller communities, Um, I don't know. There also is a sense of obligation there. I've noticed that too, because I have seen people
Yeah.
that I can tell that it's not that they don't want to do it, but you can tell it's just their obligation. Like, okay, well, this happened to this person, so now it's our obligation to do these things, right?
Yeah.
And
That
that's
feels
okay too.
different though, but it
It feels
does
a
feel,
little different, but it's okay too. I mean, they just take care of their own. There's a
yeah.
lot to be said for that.
Well, and I think too, it's much like, we talk about the five people around you. Like, who are they? Who are you around most? You start
Yeah.
you start doing what they do, right? Like it's just,
Right.
it's your circle. And
Right.
in a community like that, a close-knit group where you run into the same people at the grocery store and filling up with gas and stuff, like you are around. So you can have communities that are very much not like that and be
Right.
a crummy community real quick. And
Mm-hmm.
then you can have ones that are thriving. And
Right.
and you can see it in a small town quicker than you can, I think, in like, Bismarck or a city or something like that. Just
Yeah.
with the numbers in general. Because
Right.
yeah, Bismarck is a very giving community as well.
It is. And like I said, there's pockets. Like I know I've
Yep.
heard people, again, I haven't had this myself, not for many years. We did live in a wonderful neighborhood when the kids were growing up and everyone kind of looked out for each other. But for many years, I've not experienced that. But I think there are pockets of it where there are neighborhoods where people are very close and they
Hmm.
pay attention and they show up for each other and things like that. So, but how do you, if you don't live in that kind of a community, how do you bring that to your community, do you think? How do you be the person to
Well,
make a
kind of
change?
like, on my travel a little bit, right? Like when I was on my own and didn't know anyone, I was like, how can I show up today for somebody I don't know? And I think that just comes down to being present in a lot of ways. Um,
Hmm.
not just walking down the street looking at the lines in the sidewalk, like looking at people in the eye
Or your phone?
or your phone or running into
Yeah.
phone poles, right? Like, or your GPS. I mean, hello, I looked at GPS for a lot, a
Yeah.
lot. But I do think that I think that when you wake up in the morning and set an intention on your day of just being present and see where the opportunities are to show up instead of it just, I mean, we take a lot of pride in our businesses. We take a lot of pride in like the people who are around us, right? Um, and friends and family and those things. But and it's wonderful and it's a great start. And maybe just starting with that, like who in my friend group can I show up for today? And not that it needs to be like a surprise or something huge or whatever. It's just who's on my mind today or what opportunities do I have to support, you know,
Right.
too.
Right.
And we're not always in a chapter where we can support, right? We talk about a full cup,
Right.
right? Making sure your cup is full and doing things to fill your cup so that you can give. Um, but what I
I
found,
hear that so often, but for me, I think like when my cup is full or when my I feel like the best time for me to show up for other people sometimes is when I'm struggling myself.
100%.
Because yeah, I've even just with the last few months with me and if I do something and people are like, no, you need to focus on you. And I'm like, actually, I don't want to focus on me right now. Sometimes it's better to, if we're always in our own space, I don't think that that's always healthy either. I think sometimes it's really, really beneficial for me personally, at least, to get out of my own space and to get out of my own life and really focus on other people. Um, so I agree with that. You can't sacrifice yourself for other people, but it really is a good idea sometimes to, oh no, my power is going to go out on my laptop. But good idea to just put yourself, you know, be there for
Yeah,
other people.
right. And
You
you're
keep
right.
talking. I'm going to grab my
Yeah,
power cord.
you're definitely right that as you support others, it puts it makes your energy get a little bit bigger, honestly. Um,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of times, especially when I was very busy in my practice and stuff, I felt like I was doing that throughout the day because I'm in the service industry in a way, like chiropractic care, right? I felt like I was doing that during the day that so much that when I got home, like I felt I might have been exhausted or whatever. But a good exhaustion, right? Like I felt like if I was having a morning where I was kind of in my own space and just trying to I don't know, like get my energy up. As soon as I started adjusting people, it shifted. Like it just like it grew like out of myself and I wasn't in my head as much as I was servicing, helping other people in whatever they were needing. It and like thinking about that, taking it outside of your building and into a community, I'd say it's the same thing.
Yes,
It's very much the same thing. Yeah. Yeah.
agreed.
And I think we can get lost in like the only way we know how to help is this one way. And even like finances, think about that, like how many, nonprofit things we go to and, providing funds for people, which is great. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But as my time kept getting more limited, I kept leaning on funds to support others. And I know that that's what they needed. I mean, that's why they were having a fundraiser. But it didn't fill me up nearly as much as it did to do
No,
like reach out to someone or say hi or, you know, crack a joke, even though I have really bad jokes, but sarcasm is my joke. But you know what
right?
I mean? Like just
Yeah.
that sort of encouragement and support for others is what fills me up personally more than the funds. But yeah,
Well, it's funny
no.
you say that because again, over the last few months with, what's been going on with Jerry, um, so many people have wanted, like, asked if they can bring me food. Because that is our way, right? We bring
Yeah,
food.
yeah, yes.
And I'm like, please don't bring me food. Because he wasn't eating. And if I was gonna eat all that food, we got a problem, right? So,
Freezer's full.
who's going to eat it, right?
Yeah,
But you're right, people. So I think it's good for us to challenge ourselves. Like, how else can we show up? And people offered many times to do fundraisers for Jerry, and he didn't want that. As long as he could pay his own way, he's going to pay his own way, right? And so he never had a problem doing that. But for me, it was really like when people would literally just out of the blue text me, and just say, "Hey, I'm thinking of you. Hey, I'm praying for you. Hey, I prayed for Jerry today. Hey, I hope you're having a good day." Even just a text with like a smiley face or a heart or something, and I just knew that they were putting out some good, some love, some light
yeah,
into the world by doing that. Not just to me, but it goes out, like you said. I mean, it comes out of you, right?
yeah,
And when you're thinking of someone else and you're sending them some good energy, people, you can call whatever you want. People say, "Oh,
yeah,
the thoughts and prayers don't solve problems." They can. They make the world a better place. And so those little things meant way more to me than not way more to me, but they meant a lot to me. It doesn't need to be a pan of lasagna. It doesn't need to be, a money. It Sometimes it's really just simple thoughts and prayers, honestly.
right.
And let somebody know that you took time out of your day to think about them and to
Yeah,
send them something loving.
right.
um, it really can be that simple. Not that
Good.
a good old pan of lasagna doesn't hit the spot sometimes,
Yes.
but it doesn't have to be all of that. Just a hug, you
Yeah,
know, or
yeah,
like sit beside somebody in church or
yeah. That was such a good
be
story.
beside somebody, there's a lot to be said for that. So,
Will you share that story?
well, so we haven't, I don't think we talked about this last week, but I lost my partner Jerry last week,
Yeah,
and I went to church like, I mean, he had passed away at like 1:30 in the morning, early Saturday morning, and I went to church Sunday morning, so he hadn't been gone very long. And I cried my way in the door. I cried my way through the whole church into the sanctuary, and I think nobody knew what to do with me. Um, and I sat there and cried. And just because I had not, I mean, crying, of course, when someone passes away, but Jer and I went to church together. I never went by myself, so it was a place where I was never without him.
Yeah.
So it was hard. And I sat where we always sit, and I didn't even think about it, but I left a space for him beside me because he always sat at the edge in case he needed to get out. Um, and it was really hard. And I'm going to say, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through the service, half of the way through the service, something like that. Some woman who I probably had met briefly at some point, but I didn't know her very well. She came and sat beside me, and she just said, I couldn't help myself. I had to come and sit with you. And she held my hand so tight, and she put her arm around me, and she just whispered sweet things to me. She just was saying, what a great man he was, and how she just said nice things to me about, what they witnessed us going through. And um it just gave me so much peace. And I know that that came from her. Ultimately it was her, but I'm sure either, it came from Jerry, or it came from God. Something told her to go do this, right? Something inside of her, whatever you people want to call that. But she was like my angel that day. And then yesterday, um, when I went to church, I wasn't quite as emotional. I didn't cry my whole way through, but I was sad, and I was crying, and people could see that. But before the service even started, then yesterday, a couple who's been very supportive, they came and sat next to me, and she just immediately held my hand. And then a woman who we've become friends, and her husband and Jared, they were all very close, and she came and sat next to me and held my hand. And they didn't say a word. They just held my hand, and they just sat next to me. And actually, Chris, who sat beside me, she diverted my attention. She talked about other things, before church started. And I just think it doesn't need to be big things. People
Yeah.
just need to know that there's someone beside them.
Yeah.
And um, in your story about your dad, I mean, people, again, I think people in smaller communities are just more likely to just jump in and do things like that, right? And you had mentioned your dad.
Yeah. There was a fire a couple days ago, and on the other side of the county, but the whole county gets the call if you're on the fire department. And we just have like a rural fire department here in Ralph, and which Ralph is a population of 4, all my family. And anyway, so the fire bar rings and figure out where the fire is, and he just got in his pickup and got in his truck and went to it, which was about 90 miles away, 80 miles away. Um, but I mean, it's just no brainer. Like, you drop your stuff and you go, right? And obviously this is like emergency type thing, all hands on deck type of deal, with it being a home and whatnot. Um, but yeah, it's just what happens here. And I think
Right.
this has happened more in church for me, or when I'm meditating, praying, when I'm doing that. It's when for anyone listening, when you have a little voice that says someone's name or somewhere to go, take a different route to work today, whatever that little voice is, like, just listen to it, because there's a reason that it pulls you that way. And you might not always know what it was, and
Agreed.
no clue, but just listening to that little inner voice of what to do, I think, or how to go about your day, that's your guide.
Right.
I think that's the whole point of our retreats, is just helping people listen to that voice. Like, we can't do that for them. I'm not always doing it. I will say that, like, it's a practice. But yeah, it's that little voice that, if there's something that is on your heart at all. I remember when I was going to church, there's like you walk up if you want prayers, right? To walk up
Yes.
and have people pray with you. And I was always so nervous to go. But I honestly, one point I just shut my eyes. I'm like, okay, I'm praying right here. I'm just using all their prayers, and I'm just going to stay right here. And I swear I had like a pull on my shirt like this to go. And did I go? No, I didn't. But I know, like, that was something that was like, dude, like you do it, do the thing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? Um,
Well, that's funny because I think I've told you this story before, but when Jerry and I first started dating, we'd been dating for like 2 months or something. And I just, listen, and we could do a whole series maybe on dating in your 40s and 50s, but regardless, 30s, 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
Later in life, whatever.
we were 2 months in, and I just one day I was like, this isn't working. This isn't working. This is not what I want. And I think I've told you, my ego was like, I was like, he's so far behind me in his healing journey, and I'm so far behind above this and whatever, because, he was hurting. He still was hurting with, he'd been divorced about 3 years and he was healing and he was doing really good, but he was still in some pain. So it's hard to it's hard to walk beside somebody as you're trying to figure out dating and they're still in pain and they're still struggling. And I was too. I just didn't realize it, right? But anyway, so I called him and I was all holier than thou, like, well, you're not as I'm farther along than you and you've got a ways to go. And so this isn't going to work. So stupid. And he said to me, why can't we walk beside each other in healing, and try to figure this out together? And I was like, nope, nope, I'm beyond this. How, whatever. I was just ridiculous. And probably about 2 or 3 days later, I was driving in my car. And when I tell you, it had to be God himself because it was strong. Something just like smacked me upside the head, honestly, and was like, you stupid woman. You've asked for a nice man. You've been asking for this for years. What are you doing? I gave him to you. I literally put him right in front of you. And I just remember thinking, like, how sad that it took. It wasn't just a pull. It wasn't just a like little voice in my head. Something literally hit me, like smacked me hard. Thank God for that though, because,
Yes.
then I was fortunate enough to spend 3 years with this amazing man that had I not I don't know. Your point was to get people to listen to the small voices. Don't get it to the point where you have to literally be hit in the head. And thank God I was. But
And
I
that
think it's also important
and
to
he was
say
willing
thank
to
you for that.
forgive you, and Jerry was willing to take you back
Jerry was
or
willing to
whatever.
forgive me and just, understand that again, a lot of people walk life learning and healing and growing. And, that was one of the things that made him such a special man, was that he was able to see that, and not all people can. So anyway, yeah, I don't even know how we got to this point, but listen to the small voices, right? When people are sitting in church and they're in pain, or people are in pain in general, and you're working beside them, or you know them, or however, send them the note, right? Check
Yeah.
and see how they're doing. Give them the hug. You don't even have to say anything. Give them a hug. Give them a little squeeze in the hand when you walk past them. Those things mean the world to people.
Yeah. Right. Totally.
Yeah. Get
Totally.
in your car and drive to the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. See where you can be.
Instead of going, well, that's not my
I don't
responsibility.
know how
I think, yeah, we're
I
all
don't know how to handle
responsible.
this. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great way to end today.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, what we should really, real quick, how are we doing on time? We're doing good.
Okay.
We should talk about our retreats that we have upcoming, which we're not going to talk about details quite yet, or dates, but we're working on dates for 2026. And we're
Yeah.
going to have some different locations and some different spaces, but the goal is going to be the same, which is resting and healing
Mm-hmm.
and finding space for yourself. And we're really excited to start putting out some of those details and some of those dates here in the next couple months for people to plan their 2026 retreats.
Yes.
So we really look forward to hosting those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Good.
think we have some fun things planned.
We do. We do. And in some beautiful areas too. So I think that's something we've definitely discussed, is like making sure to put the dates out there so people can plan their year.
Can plan.
But yeah.
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 Okay.
So, okay, awesome.
Hope you have a beautiful Monday.
I will. We'll talk to you
Okay.
later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.